And then this beautiful photograph, my handsome grandfather, Private Maurice Burns, very handsome gentleman. I knew my grandfather had served, but it was something that I knew because I had seen pictures of him. But we never talked about it. And he passed away in 1996, and then my grandmother died in 2008. So in cleaning out her house, she had a desk in her bedroom that had all these pictures in it. And I took all the pictures and I found my grandfather's stash of memorabilia from the military. Scooped it all up, brought it back to Florida with me. Put it in a protective Ziploc bag and kind of stashed it away and never really thought any more about it. And so last year I was surfing on the net and there was an article about Montford Point and I started reading it and I don't know what it was. Something clicked, something led me to believe that, you know what, I think Papa is what we called him, was a Montford Pointer. So at the end of the article, it talked about how they were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, and if you think that your loved one served or you know someone that served, reach out to the Montford Point Marine Association. I sent an email really quickly, not really thinking I was going to get anything from it. The night I sent the email, I couldn't sleep. I was so on edge. Had a slew of mixed emotions, and that morning when I woke up, I was very emotional. I was telling my husband about it. I was crying because when I started reading about the Montford Point Marines in that short amount of time that morning, all I saw was the fact that they had been treated horribly, and I was imagining this is what my grandfather went through. Phone rings and it's Joe Geeter from the Montford Point Marine Association, and he told me that the email that I had sent earlier that morning to the National Secretary had been sent to him. And he told me what to look for, and lo and behold, I had the beautiful certificate of my grandfather, and he said, snapshot it for me, send it over to me in the text, and I did. He said, that's it, let's get your grandfather the medal. Here is the beautiful medal. I had to put her under glass. This is not actual gold, so a lot of people think this is an actual gold medal. The actual gold, Congressional Gold Medal for Montford Point, I believe, is in DC in a museum. So this is a replica, but it's still phenomenal. It's beautiful. You look at the front of it and you see the images of the Montford Point Marines. You have a couple of images of the men running, and they're doing some sort of exercise, they're jumping, but it's pretty cool. So it reads, for outstanding perseverance and courage that inspired social change in the Marine Corps. Because it's very important to recognize these men and what they did and what they sacrificed, and it's super, super important that we do that. The other thing that is mind-blowing is I really don't believe that they understood what it was they were actually doing, how this would affect the rest of the world going forward and how it would affect the Marine Corps. Sure, I know that they realized that they were integrating the last branch of the military that had never been integrated, but it's pretty awesome. I don't know where they had that courage or the inspiration, but the fact that they stuck it through is pretty incredible. And they were essentially fighting two fronts. They were fighting for equality at home, and they were also engaged in, battle against our enemies overseas. So that's a lot. That's a lot. After getting the Congressional Gold Medal on behalf of my grandfather, my childhood classmate Reggie Moore, who also received the gold medal on behalf of his grandfather, we talked about, once we got the gold medal, we felt like it wasn't right to just take it home and not do anything. It's great to receive it and to have it, but there are 18,000 additional family members of the 20,000 men who served that have not been found, that may not know about this Congressional Gold Medal honor. And so for me, I felt like we had to do something. What my grandfather did, which I think is incredible is on that platoon picture, he numbered all 34 members of his platoon, of his unit. And he also had the names and the addresses and phone numbers of every one of those men. That's unheard of because the government didn't do a good job of keeping records. We know where he's identified a few people, what they did, and then of course he has a list of all of the men that he served with. So to have that information is pretty incredible. Thank you, Papa. Since I had those names, I started trying to find the families of those 33 men. So Reggie and I both tried to reach out to every media outlet that we could. In my experience, I reached out to every media outlet that I thought would have some interest. One of our classmates, I think she's a year or two ahead of me. Her name is Latondra Newton. And Latondra is the Chief Diversity Officer for the Walt Disney Company. So Reggie said, you know, let me reach out to Ton and ask her, does she know about this story? And he just sent her a quick message. And I tell you, within, 30 minutes, she responded and she copied Deborah O'Connell on the message and said, we've got to do something. We've got to share this story. And next thing I know, Portia Grant was looped into the conversation. And Portia said, let's meet, let's have a Zoom interview. So Reggie, Portia, and I were on a call, and there was another producer, Maxine, was on the call. And they both said they were so overwhelmed by the information that we were giving them. They'd never heard of Montford Point, and they were just blown away. And they were like, their minds were reeling, like, what can we do with this story? There's so much that we can do. So I just wanted to try to get opportunities to share the story, not just because it was my grandfather, but the bigger picture is there are still 18,000 individuals or family members that don't know the story, that don't know that there's an honor awaiting their loved one. So that has kind of been my mission.